Hi, just wanted to do a video, final one for 2020. This is covering Propulsion, a rack extension from Lectric Panda. Recently purchased it, and basically it's a 16-track percussion sequencer. It's a bit like Matrix style step editor. I've got another video on my channel recently done about that if you want to take a look at the Matrix pattern sequencer. 16 lanes, 16 patterns here in the Propulsion rack extension. Various features we'll take a look at, random and alter features. There's a link in the bio down below. If you want to buy it, it's currently on sale from Reason for £9, which is an absolute bargain. There's also a bunch of refills on there that I've just discovered you can download as well. So if you want to learn about Propulsion, stay tuned and we'll take a dive into it.
This is where we all get in.
Okay, so if you've downloaded a trial or you've actually purchased Propulsion, it'll be available for you inside Reason once you download and install it. So here's the device. We'll just drop it onto the surface to take a look at. Obviously in its current state here it's not wired into anything, so it's not going to do anything if we try and use this. If you flip it round, take a quick look at the back, you've got 16 gate outputs here, various CV options, length, velocity and offset, kind of thing you'd expect from a sequencer here. Okay, so I'm just going to remove it. Let's get an instrument in there and let's take a look at what this thing can do. So keep it simple first of all. It's down as a if you drop it in, we'll pick a different kit. So what I'm going to do is search for it again like I did before. I'm going to drop it into here. If you flip it round, it's called a beat sequencer here, so you can use it with things like redrum, Kong, whatever. I'm going to preload a patch up here just to save a little bit of time. Some of my patches where I've programmed some drums here. So if you take a look at the device again, you'll see in the bottom left, before we go into any of the details, there's a run button. If we hit this thing, you can see the steps going through. You've got 1 to 32 at the top, but nothing's happening with these gate lanes that I've drawn in here. And that's because if we flip the rack around, you'll see that I've not outputted any of the gates to any devices yet. So super simple. We're going to take the gate out from Propulsion and put it to the gate in on the red drum. And I'm going to do this for the first two gates. If I use the run now, you can see that this is starting to fire lane 1, which is the kick drum, and number 2, which is the clap. And you can see those firing inside the red drum there as that fires. So I've got 9 gates set up here, so I'm just going to do the rest from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. You can hear them starting to come in, the hi-hats, toms, open hi-hats. So you can see here that they're all being triggered and playing all the relevant channel strips inside the red drum. So that's one way that you can use Propulsion beat sequencer as it's called here. You can see each individual activity firing here as the gates are sending the data out to the relevant channels on the red drum. Okay, so I'm going to turn off run here. So there's 2 ways you can activate this device. Is through the transport and it will fire, but if you've got other devices, like I've got a Dr. Rex here just doing the kick playing there as well. Let's just turn that off for this example, but if I run this, plays there, but it will also play off the transport as well if I wanted to. But more interestingly, if I just remove this, let's take a little dive into the device and see what else we can do with it. I've been using it on synths. So if we, I'm going to pick a synth, let's take we'll go for a Thor, and then pick a particular patch. This will be fine. And then I'm going to find Propulsion again. And I'm going to drop it just beneath that Thor polyphonic synthesizer. So again, what I need to do is wire out one of these gates into the gate in on the Thor synthesizer. And again, if I hit run, nothing's going to happen here because I've got no lane data in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just create a particular pattern in here. So you can just come in here with the mouse and you can start drawing in these particular points where you want it to trigger. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use one of the features we'll look at in a minute called RYTM here, and I'm going to generate some sort of a random pattern there. So let's have a look at this device. So if we stop it playing for a second. So as I said here, you've got 16 lanes here where you can draw in the triggers. You have 32 steps here that can be adjusted. So if I play this here, give ourselves a bit more space, run this here, I can drop this down, just fire the first 8, pull it out, do the 16, or write out for the 32. So over on the far side you've got mute and solo. So if I run this, if I've got more than one lane playing, I can mute that lane out, or I can solo that particular lane just to listen to that one. You can program up to 16 patterns as well. It's 16 on each individual lane for each pattern, 16 patterns. There's a whole bunch of things here you can do down in the bottom section here in terms of the direction of the sequencer. Edit features, clear, copy, paste. We'll dive into those in a second. Moving the patterns up and down, left and right inside each lane. You can audition an individual sound here by clicking this little play column here. So let's play that again. So again, if we just take a look at this mod here section, you can keep choosing this to find the pattern that you like. And I've got the Dr. Octarex here, so I can So if you take a look at the section down below here, we'll come back to offset and div a little later, but look at the direction here. So you'll notice as I play this, it's going forward by default. You can see it going along in a forward motion at the top, hitting reverse. So we've also got an option here for what's called pendulum 1. What that'll do is go from 1 to 32 and then return, but it will also play 1 and 32 twice, as that's playing as I understand it. Random obviously speaks for itself. There is a walk option on here, and that will randomly choose to step backwards, stay and re-trigger, or step forward with a bias for the forward direction, or forward movement if you like. So let's play that again. So again you get a variation of that as it's playing. So I'm going to stop this. If you take a look and highlight, you can highlight individually these, and each one of them will have its own settings down below, so you can mix and mash this up as much as you like. So I'm going to pop this one back onto forward here. So some of the other things that you can do down here is this target. So we've looked at lane data here, so we've used this RYTH option here to create this particular pattern in this lane, but you'll notice here is if I choose curve in here and now hit this section, it affects the bottom piece, not the lane data. If it's on all, it'll randomize the lane data and the curve as well, but you can individually choose here which one it's going to affect as you're doing that. So again, I can just keep playing with this till I find. Okay, so what we need to do here is we're going to take out a particular curve. So if you look here at CV1 on the back, if we flip it round, we can take CV1 out and we can pop it into, say, the pitch bend on the Thor. Now if we play it back, so the pitch is being affected here by these, and again I can so on the curve here, if I choose Len and do random, so there's sort of endless possibilities here that you can play around with this option depending on what curve you've got selected. Velocity, the length, repeat here. So you can draw these in on the lanes that it's firing. Play around this for hours just trying to get the ideas you're trying to lay down here. Okay, so that's sort of a quick dive around it. We talked about edit, so you can clear the curve here. We can clear the lane data here if we want to, and we can fire again until we find the section. We can take an entire line using copy, move to number 2, and we can paste it in. Talked about move up and down. If I select lane 2, I can move it up, I can move it down, I can adjust it to the left or to the right. So it's basically just about getting comfortable around using these options and combining these options with the target, the curve, using the different wiring options at the back in terms of the gate triggering into a particular device, and then the CV, the velocity, gate length, all these other options that you can wire in. Let's take a look at a slightly more advanced example. So talking about sort of call and answer in music, what we can do here is if we get a combinator, I'm in the right section, get a combinator, and I've already got a device that I've pulled together here. So let's take a look at this. So we've got a simple line mixer at the top, got 3 synths in use here, a subtractor polyphonic synthesizer and 2 Europas. And then at the bottom, of course, I've got propulsion. So you can see I've got lane data drawn in for 1, 2 and 3. If we flip the rack around here, you can see 3 is going into the subtractor and 2 and 1 are going into the other 2 Europa devices there. So if we take a look at this when it plays, so what I'm doing is I'm triggering 3 separate synths using one propulsion device to come up with this sound, which is really neat. If you wanted the call and answer stuff, you can stack these things up. It's super easy to do. We could take another instrument here if we wanted to. Let's take a Maelstrom, drop him into here. The output, just expand this out, automatically gets wired into number 4 there. What we can do just to keep this some sort of order is just drop this beneath the subtractor, and I'm going to take out gate 4, put it into the input of the Maelstrom. Now of course on 4 I can start drawing in some notes. Change up the patch there. So you can see you can create some really cool combinations here, multiple synths just driven by simple propulsion device. So rather than having matrices on each of these and trying to figure out where you want the events to fire, you can just draw them in up to 16 that you can put here in order to do that. So again, remember there's things down here where you can move these left and right individually on a particular lane. You can solo particular lines, so let's just listen to this, which is firing shifting pulse on that second Europa there. Or I can mute out the maelstrom that we've just put in, see whether I like it, and to audition it in there. There is also the ability, remember, to audition the sounds here, multiple patterns that you can record in there, so the options are just endless there. So again, remembering on the back here we can wire out some of these different options. So we could take something like CV1 into here, so of course you can save your patches as well if you wanted to do that. That's what I've done in this example here, so I can quickly recall it. I could easily swap out these particular devices to alter up this sound, randomize some of these, alter them slightly, so we can make a slight change to that first one by hitting Alt, and you'll see it's starting to make changes up above. You can sync this different ways, the transport to the tempo or just free. I tend to just leave it on transport and have it driven from here. The different rates you can play around with here, so we can again, you've got your activity as each one of these are firing. You can see the different colours light up here for the 16 lanes that you've got available to you. So I tend to use it more often on synths, to be honest, certainly when working with techno music, to draw this stuff in here. And don't forget there's all those sort of options with the repeats in here, so that you can make particular notes fire to repeat, whatever. Just a great little device, and the fact that it's on sale for £9 at the moment, it's worth going out there, doing a trial, or just buying it for that price. I've recently purchased a couple of other devices from Lectric Panda as well. Compulsion, I think I got Chord as well, because there's a sale on at the moment, 70% off on some of the devices. I think there's 30% off Reason as well itself, if you want to get that at the moment. So yeah, just download it, have a play around with it. There's endless options, hours of fun here. As I say, I kind of like being able to do things like this and draw in the sounds and sculpt the sounds how I want them to behave together. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to see more videos, I'm hoping to do one on Compulsion and possibly Chord for the new year, to cover those devices as well. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe.
Yeah.